Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. Today we're going to be gearing up to take out a firewood delivery to one of my favorite customers. They ordered 1.5 cords worth of wood that he's going to end up splitting up between himself and a few of his neighbors. Before we do that, I want to start opening up all these videos with a pond update for you guys and show you where the water level is as it fills up so you guys can review and revise your estimates on when it's going to be full. So let's take a quick look at the pond before we get started. All right, so here is the pond as we enter the beach area. A lot of people asked us what this was here that we kind of dug in with the dozer. That is basically a miniature dam for the sand. Like I said, this is going to be a beach area, so we're going to go ahead and put geomat down here, and then we're going to go ahead and put probably 6 to 8 inches worth of sand on top of this, and that little dam there will keep the sand from washing down into the rest of the pond and keep it here where your feet are going to be, so you're not stepping in any of the slimy clay on the bottom. But without further ado, here is, I think this is 7 days into the pond fill, and we've had one rain event of about 1/4 inch, and then we had one snow event that was about, they were calling for 1 to 3. I think we ended up getting about 2 inches of rain, or 2 inches of snow, but it is filling in quite nicely. I'd say we're probably 3 feet deep right there in the middle. And I mean, as it stands right now, we've got enough room to ice skate this winter. I mean, maybe one at a time, but by the time we get to freezing temperatures, this will be filled up quite a bit. We'll be able to ice skate this winter for sure. And it's definitely, as you can see, holding water. Another question people were asking me is, what's with the blue color? Well, that is pond dye. And the reason you put pond dye in is to reduce water visibility so that sun and UV rays don't get down to the bottom and you don't get extra plant growth growing and making your pond all seaweedy. Obviously, we're not worried about that this time of the year. The reason I put the pond dye in now, one, because I think it looks cool. It's pretty awesome looking. But the second reason is I'm actually doing a time lapse where I'm going to be taking a picture from the same spot every single day. And it's just easier to see the pond water rising up with the water being blue against a brown background. Because if there was no pond dye in here, the water would be brown and it'd be tough to see the water level coming up brown on brown. Now, another thing that people keep asking us about is fish structure. What are you doing for fish structure? You got to get it in now while it's empty. It's going to be a lot easier than when it's full. Well, this pond for us and for our family is going to be more of a recreation pond than it is a fishing pond. I'm thinking ice skating and swimming. So probably all we're going to be stocking this pond with is going to be the types of fish that are going to keep the pond clean, like grass carp, and I got to do some research yet on what I want to put in here, but the main objective is to keep the water clean. So I'm not as concerned about putting bluegill and crappie and bass and all that in here. This is going to be mainly for swimming, and I've actually heard that all those other fish, they come up and kind of nip at you a little bit, and you know, while those little fish don't have teeth and it's pretty harmless, it's still an uneasy feeling for people who are not used to swimming in ponds, which a lot of my family and friends are not used to swimming in ponds. And I want to make this as enticing as possible. Obviously, you can see with the blue pond dye, that makes it a lot more likely that people will want to get in and swim. So this is going to be a swimming pond first, and I'm not so much concerned about the fish. We have 2 or 3 lakes within the immediate area that if we want to go fish, we can throw the poles in the truck and be fishing within 15 minutes. So that's why we're just going to keep this as mainly a swimming pond. All right, so before we can get to loading up the dump trailer with our 1.5 cords of wood for our delivery, I want to go ahead and get this firewood yard cleaned up just a bit. As you can see, we've got 2 baskets there that are ready to go, and then I've got 1 basket full of just offcuts and junk pieces that I'll burn in my wood stove. And then I want to go ahead and bring the box blade in here and get this all cleaned up. That way I'm ready to go ahead and start tearing into that pile next. Well, there we go. That looks a lot better. I know some people will say, oh, you just created a mud slick for yourself, but as soon as I go ahead and start cutting again, this will get completely recovered with chafe and sawdust and everything. So we will be up out of the mud, but this at least eliminates some of the tripping hazard for us when we go to start running the axis again. So now that we've got the firewood yard cleaned up, I thought I'd go ahead and do a quick little firewood inventory for you guys. This is all the stuff that I kind of pulled out and set aside for this delivery I'm going to take out. Like I said, it's going to be a cord and a half. I want to make sure I pulled out more than what I needed just so I didn't have to go back and grab any more. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 baskets here. This one I already emptied out for a previous delivery. So that is almost 3 cords of wood sitting there right now. And then if we take a look down to where the new firewood yard is, well, the firewood yard is going to be over here where we make the firewood. This is where we're storing the firewood over here. So if you look behind the tractor, all this stuff is fresh cut over here. You can kind of see it. You can see the freshness on it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 baskets of firewood ready to go for next year. And this is what we're continuing to add to. And then this is all the stuff that I have this season. This is all that's left. I don't remember how many baskets I have left down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got almost 3 cords left to sell for this year. So between what I've got sitting over there and what I've got over here, probably 5 to 6 cords left. And like I said, a cord and a half is going out now. I bet you within the next 30 days, all of my seasoned wood will be gone and we won't have anything left but green wood that'll be ready for next year. So the plan is I'm going to pull my 7x14 dump trailer up onto the new firewood road next to where I have all of my seasoned baskets. And in order to get a cord and a half in that dump trailer, you know, it's 7 feet wide by 14 feet long by 2 foot sides. So if I stacked that in there perfectly, it would work out to exactly 1.5 cords to the top of the bed rails. Now I know people are going to ask, if you already have the wood stacked in the baskets, why don't you just use your pallet forks to lift the basket into the dump trailer and deliver it that way? Well, the problem is I need to get 6 baskets in here, and my only point of entry is the rear tailgate here. If this was a deck over, you know, flatbed trailer, and I could just load a basket there, load a basket here, load a basket there, and do the same on the other side, then yes, I could do that. But since this dump trailer has sides, my only point of access is the rear. There's no way that I can get 2 baskets up there, and then 2 baskets here, and then 2 baskets here. So unfortunately, if you have a dump trailer and you're using IBC totes, the only thing that I can think of to get a full cord and a half into your dump trailer is to hand stack it, unfortunately. So that's what we're up against. So as you can see, daylight got away from us last night, so we're going to go ahead and get this loaded up. But we got graced with about 1 or 2 inches worth of snow. That's good for the pond, but it definitely makes working conditions not so great. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get these baskets loaded up in the dump bed. I've got my dad here. He showed up to give me a hand stacking this wood in there. So let's go ahead and bust this out. Well, we got it all in there, and I think it's safe to say nobody's getting shorted with firewood on this load. Like I said, if you do the math, 7 times 14 times 2-foot walls gives you 196 cubic foot of firewood. There's 128 cubic foot in a cord of wood. So if you divide 196 by 128, you get 1.53 cubic feet. And that would be if you were level with these 2-foot bed rails, which you can see we are definitely heaped up in the middle there, up above the bed rails. So I would say this is probably closer to a cord and 2/3 of a cord. But that's something I like to do for my repeat customers. These guys have bought from me 3 years in a row now. They're excellent customers, and I like to err on the side of giving them too much wood than making them feel like they got shorted. I just think it's good business. But anyway, let's go ahead and hook up the F-150 and we'll get this taken down to them. All right, guys, so we just got back from dropping off that load of firewood, and I wanted to talk about how much we got because it is the most that we've ever gotten for a single load of firewood before. Now, I want to disclaim there's a few reasons for that. The first one is that is a customer that we've had for 3 or 4 years now. When we first started delivering to them, we lived down in the city of Pittsburgh. Now that we moved about an hour and a half outside the city, they still call us every year. And I told them when we first started delivering to them from further distance that I was going to have to charge them a little more for the extra delivery time, and they said that's okay. They loved our product. They were okay with the extra delivery cost. So we're delivering from about an hour and a half outside of where they live now, and I just filled up my pickup truck and it was $114, which brings me to my second point, which is inflation. The price of gas these days is through the roof. Secondly, inflation on everything else. I'm factoring in the price of my wood, the replacement cost of the equipment I have, not the cost of the equipment when I bought it. So this dump trailer behind me, it's a 7x14. I bought it last year for $6,400. I checked the manufacturer's website. Today, that same dump trailer to replace it, if I wear it out or whatever, would be almost $10,000. 25-ton log splitters. I know that's not what we use, but 3 years ago, I bought a 25-ton Yard Max log splitter. It was $800. I checked out in front of Home Depot. They have a 27-ton Champion log splitter that is $1,749. So that just goes to show you what inflation has done to all of the equipment. If I were to ever have to replace it, I have to build into my prices the replacement cost of the equipment whenever it wears out, because nothing has an infinite life, everything wears out. So with all of that said, what did I charge these guys for that load of 1.5 cords of seasoned firewood? Well, I told them that I was charging right now to deliver down to their area $4.75 per cord, and that was 1.5 cords. So I told them $7.15, and they said that's fine. They had no problem with that. And when I got there, they wanted a little extra help hand unloading it and stacking it. So I had probably an hour and a half in stacking it. Normally I don't do that without charging somebody for it, but I've helped them in the past and I know they always tip me, and they usually tip me more than what I would charge to stack it. So I was gonna charge them $7.15. What they ended up paying me was $880 for that 1.5 cords of firewood delivered an hour and a half away. I know a lot of you guys might have sticker shock at $880 for 1.5 cords of firewood, and you might be wondering who in their right mind would pay that. Well, I'll tell you who. People who have been burnt in the past by dishonest firewood sellers. He told me that he's had 2 separate people come and deliver to him so-called seasoned firewood, and when he went to go light it, there was water boiling out of the ends. He couldn't get it to light, couldn't get it to stay lit, and he was just fighting with it. So because he's bought off of us 3 years in a row, and every time we deliver, it's ready to burn right off the dump trailer, that's why he'll pay us a premium, because he knows it's not gonna be a problem for him. When he wants to have a fire, he can have one and not have to fight it. Anyway, I think that about wraps this one up. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, give us a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.